Good evening. Welcome to Sports Weekly, driven by Terry Hendricks Ford and live here at JJ Wynn's in Holiday City. Also presented by Amerimaid Realty, the main stops of Northwest Ohio and the Bryan Parks and Recreation Department. Baseball, our buzzword of the night. Should be that way. Opening day in Major League Baseball is tomorrow. We'll talk Tenora Baseball with head coach Brent Renolette later in the show. Bryan Baseball with new head coach Corey Walker. And Montpelier Baseball with head coach Toby Hutchison. Toby, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, Andy. It's been a pleasure. Always is.
By the way, you're the only guest, I had to stop and think about this, that I've had like 5 different people say, do you have a 7-second delay for this guy? Why would they say that?
I have no idea. I'm usually straight and to the point, so.
So off to a good start, though, this year. Before we dive into this season, tell me a little bit about Montpelier Baseball. I mean, this has been like the best program in the BBC the last handful of years. 3 straight titles, 2 straight trips to the district championship game. But a lot of those kids are gone now. So what was the offseason like on the heels of last year's run to the district final?
Well, it's been a big change. You know, you lose 7 seniors and you lose 3 very, very talented guys in Blake Altaffer, Colin Christenberry, and Tyler Rieras. You know, those are tough. It's tough to replace guys like that. And honestly, down the road, I don't see in the near future of anybody stepping up and playing the way those guys do. They took charge of a game. I mean, you take them guys out of our lineup last year, and it's rough. They were great leaders, did a great job, and they would take the game up on their shoulders. And they decided they were going to win. They were going to win. Those guys played hard. And Colin's playing at Owens right now, and Blake's down at ONU. And Tyler's playing club ball at Ohio State, doing pretty well. So,
yeah, I was going to say, how are all of them at the college level right now? You mentioned, how are the other 2 doing?
Well, I just talked to Coach Harris, and his son isn't doing very good. He's only hitting like 283 or something like that in college, so he's not real happy with that. So Colin's hitting 333, playing a little bit down there at Owens. And, you know, Blake, I talked to his mom the other day, and he said that he kind of disappointed a little bit, but I said, you know, there's a lot of Blake Altaffers at Ohio Northern. There's not just Blake Altaffer in Northwest Ohio. And, you know, it's going to take a little bit of work, but he's a freshman, and, you know, he'll come around. He's a good player. He's just a good all-around player. And, you know, I miss those guys, really do. Their work ethic and leadership that you lose what those guys had. That's tough to replace.
When you mentioned take over games, but they would take over practices, kind of help you in that aspect too, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and that's something we lost, and that's what I've told these kids this year is, you know, somebody's got to step up and be a leader. I mean, you know, those guys, they were leaders. They were true leaders, and they got the job done. They make sure kids worked, you know. Dugout's been pretty quiet without those guys. We don't have anybody that gets fired up. You know, Colin would come in, and he'd jump in the pile. Those guys made sure that we were up on the fence, we were cheering for the team, you know, up or down, you know. Fortunately, we were 20-7 last year, so we didn't have a lot of downs. But, you know, we come back from a lot of games last year, too. And, yeah, that's what it takes. And last night I told the guys after the 3rd inning I thought we were done because we don't have leadership. We were down, we'd hung our heads, and we'd have anybody step up and just decide they're going to win a baseball game.
Is it a group, when you say leadership right now, is it they're learning how to lead, or is it you don't have somebody that's like a Colin, a rah-rah guy? Because I think in leadership, you can have leadership in a lot of different ways.
Well, you know, those guys last year, they led by example, and that's a big thing. And I think we got guys on the team that can do it. And there were some comments made after the game last night and some comments in practice tonight. I think last night's game kind of knocked us down a level and brought us to reality. And hopefully things change. You know, we only got 1 senior this year, so we got a young team, and very talented team, probably one of the most talented teams I've coached, you know, from position to position. I can move guys around, but as I told them last night, we lost the game last night because we don't have any men on the team that want to step up and take charge and just get in somebody's face and tell them we're going to win a baseball game.
So on a positive, you feel like you have some versatility then. You can move some guys around the diamond with this group, some athletic ability?
I think I got 9 guys that can move around, play about anywhere. We've moved them around a lot in practice, and there's really no weak spots. It's just I think their youth is a big thing, and you know, our pitching's doing a wonderful job. We got a .294 ERA, and going into last night's game, we were hitting pretty well. We were hitting over 300 at 321 as a team, I think, going into last night. but I think maybe we went a little overconfident after the games we had with Pettysville and Edgerton. And, I played a little different last night. Like I told you, we didn't put any bunts down because I wanted to see if the guys were going to hit. It was kind of nice. We've seen a little better pitching. And I wanted to see what the guys would do against something like that and see if they could overcome adversity. And, we got beat 2-0. It kind of showed.
What does this group, when you play well, and like say, let's go in your wins, what did you do well? What are you capable of doing really well at this point right now in the season?
Well, I'm going to go back to the pitchers. Our pitchers, we got 1 earned run in 4 games. So we're doing really well as pitchers. And before last night's game, they played really well against Pettysville and Edgerton. And but I think, last night, it was just I'm going to say a little better team. North Central, obviously probably picked to win the BBC. And, a little better team. And then we couldn't overcome the adversity and kind of had a letdown and couldn't pull out of it.
Pitching depth, is that something that you do? You mentioned pitching, and the numbers are good right now. Do you have good depth, especially when we do get one of those weeks where you're able to string 4 or 5 games together? Do you have some kids that you can send out to the mound, which is big at the D4 level?
Yeah, we got right now we're sitting on 6 pitchers that I would throw any given time on any day. I got Jackson Richmond, David Bowman, Landon Fackler, Trent Thorpe, Easton Richmond, Grant Garrell, sophomore, come in and threw very well against Edgerton for us. Against Edgerton, our pitchers threw very well. I've held David and Jackson off. We wanted to throw them against Edgerton just to give them a couple innings, and us as coaches talked about that. We got to bring them in a little more just so they can get time because our pitching staff is so deep that we're holding back some of our bigger pitchers for the bigger games, and the guys that have stepped up. I mean, do I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I couldn't really label them right now.
Do you practices? You mentioned losing all those kids that you lost, and not just the kids that played every day, but a large group of seniors. Do you change the way you practice? Do you have to change the way you practice when you have such a young baseball team?
It's been a really trying time, and you can ask the kids. I've shut practice down before, told them to go home because I wasn't going to deal with it. My philosophies have never changed. The kids have changed. And it's a whole different culture right now, and it's something that I haven't dealt with. I told the guys I don't lose. I don't like to lose. And if we do lose, it's going to be rough on them. And I've kind of stepped down to what they want to do. And I can watch them. Us as coaches watch them in practice. And we know when we're done with practice, those guys are they're eager to get out of there. And last few years back, you go back to the Dakota Benner days. You go back to the days with Colin and these guys. I mean, those guys never want to leave. Our practice would be over in 3 hours, and I'd have 4 or 5 guys sticking around for another hour, hour and a half, just hitting and working on stuff.
Hitting is always, it seems like, especially early April, behind pitching just by nature. And everybody looks good in the cage in February, March, that sort of thing, but you get outside and adjusting to weather and wind and everything else, different live pitching. What's that? Where's the hitting? I know last night was a struggle. Where do you feel like overall you are, and where can you be as a team?
Oh, I think we can be very well, and I tell them there's no excuses. I got guys taking pitches that aren't. Colin Chrisbury last year could take a pitch. Tyler Yaris could take a pitch. Blake Altaff could take a pitch. They could hit anything, so we could go on, But I got guys that are sitting, waiting on. They'll take a first pitch fastball. And so we worked on that tonight. We went through a whole hour and a half session of hitting, and we had a different approach and talked to them after practice. I said, you guys get in the box. You got 1 pitch to hit. That's it, because that's what we worked on tonight. They got 1 pitch. You hit it, you're good. If you don't, you're out. And so I told them, your approach, you got 1 pitch to hit, because once you get behind in the count, the pitchers can play with you, and you got to hit that first pitch.
You mentioned the BBC. You feel like North Central, at least coming in, is the favorite. Maybe talk a little bit about that and other teams to keep an eye on in the conference this year.
Oh, I see. You got the BBC is going to be tough this year. You got North Central, you got Eden, you got Hilltop, you got I don't know what striker Fayette's going to bring. We did play Pettysville, but we're probably. I just hope to compete in it. We played North Central fairly decent last night, but. It's going to depend on day in and day out what we bring to the table. we could be the #1 team in the BBC, or we could be the #7 team in the BBC. Holgate's going to, they joined our conference now, so, somebody we don't know anything about, but I've been watching them. They're performing pretty well, so, we're going to be either a #1 or a #7. It just depends on how we want to play.
Do you like the move personally about going from the double round to just playing everybody once?
No, I don't like it at all. I think what we had going was a very good thing, and I really would like to see them go back to it, but that's just my opinion. Now, just like the NWAL, they play each other one time, which, hey, if you got one guy, you can win out. So it doesn't allow for the depth in the pitching staff. And I don't agree with that. I like the way we had it, because you could throw your #1, you better have a good #2, or you're going to go 1-1 that week. And that's what we concentrate on is good pitching. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch. And, you take that out of the equation. Now we're only playing one game. Everybody can save up for one. And I'm going to throw whoever. I don't care who I throw against somebody, because that's just the way we're going to play. Like I said, I don't really have a 1, but don't really have a 2. I mean, I just got a great pitching staff. So it's tough.
I don't know if it's on this year's schedule, but knowing now going forward, I guess the positive can be you can find some good non-conference games instead of playing somebody in your conference that's not very good, where it may be not going to help you as a team. You could go find, I know you're playing Bryan this year, maybe you schedule somebody that's not on the schedule normally. Is that something that's going to take shape as you move on down the road?
Well, it goes back to the days when we were.
If your AD works with you?
Our AD's not very good. He doesn't even show up for work. But anyways, back in the days when we were in the NWAL, it was great because we were a D4 team playing in the NWAL and playing great competition. I would like to get back into playing those teams. Maybe if you can go in and compete with those teams, it just makes you a better team. And, moving forward, I'm looking, I don't want to travel to Patrick Henry. I don't like traveling to Evergreen. Nothing against the teams. It's just a long distance for us. But, we get to Delta. Swanton's kind of a little bit of a drive. But, we stay with Delta. You stay with Bryan. You stay with some of the closer to, the Archibalds, the Wasion, stuff like that. Hey, at the end of the day, you're preparing yourself for the tournaments. And you got to do whatever you got to do to make yourself better. And playing some of the teams over and over again, seeing what they got, doesn't really develop much, in my opinion. I think you need to play better teams to be a better team.
If weather holds up for the rest of the week, what's the rest of Montpelier's week look like this week?
We got starting our first league game tomorrow is against Stryker, and then we go to a place just south of us. I don't know what that team's going to be like. They got a new coach, and he's kind of hard to get along with, so I don't know what's going to happen over there. And then we travel to Evergreen for a doubleheader on Saturday, and it's going to be a good week for us, really, if we can get them all in, because playing Bryan and Evergreen is going to do nothing but make us better.
Boy, and you guys are one of the ones that have been able to get 4 games in. There's others that 1 game or 2 games or whatever because of Mother Nature, I guess, intervening. You guys got to feel pretty good that at least you got 4 in right now. But then it stinks going inside and back outside. And, this is just Northwest Ohio baseball. I know it always happens this way at some point in time.
Yeah, we've been very blessed, and the other night we played over at Edgerton. It was kind of chilly. Did get a game on Wednesday against Pettysville, and AD superintendent doing a great job of, allowing us to play on that Wednesday. And it was just great. It was a beautiful day, and you hate to give up beautiful days. And I told our maintenance guy the other day, I said, hey, if it's not raining, I want to play. The rain's the only excuse. Our field was a little soggy last night, but, would you have got a game in today? Probably not. It's pretty wet. But if it's coldness doesn't really bother me too much unless it's just bitter cold. Like I said, against Edgerton, it was pretty chilly. But, if you don't play that day, you're giving up a good opportunity to just get some innings in for some kids. Because once you go outside and you bring them back in, there's nothing really gets accomplished.
This is where you could step in and donate money for the turf field. Play every day then, right?
Yes. I was going to donate money for a turf field.
I mean, all of it.
But my wife and I decided against it because we're going to retire at some point in our lives, and she don't want to divvy up the money.
So this week with the 4 games, this can back up your point now. your rotation should be pretty well set if you get all these games in this week because you have the available arms. This is where we talked about, and I said division for any division, any level would love to have depth. But at the D4 level, we see it so often where you just don't have sometimes. You have good teams, but they can't go beyond one arm or two arms or whatever. This is a good week to kind of test that theory if you're able to play baseball this week, the rest of the week.
Yeah, it will be. And to be honest with you, Andy, we really stress pitching on our program. I mean, we got, and I hate to say it, but I got 3 of the most wonderful assistant coaches. I mean, I really don't do anything at practice. They take charge of everything. I just walk around, see what the kids got. I got a very high-strung young pitching coach that kind of gets out of control once in a while. And then I got a laid-back old assistant coach that played for Tommy Helt. He just sits back and watches and tells me what I'm doing wrong and makes the changes, and then I deal with them. But as far as the pitching, yes, this will be good for us this week because it'll get our arms, should get all of our arms in.
Toby, we appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Best of luck the rest of the way. Looking forward to seeing you guys play at some point here down the road this spring.
All right. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.
Toby Hutchison, head coach of the Montpelier Locos. We'll talk Bryan baseball with new head coach Corey Walker when we come back. I want to talk to you for the next 30 seconds about the place to go for your next vehicle. Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald. Whether it's a new vehicle for purchase, a lease vehicle, or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle, Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald is the place to turn. They also have this fantastic service department as well. Service after the sale. Terry Hendricks Ford, serving all of your vehicle needs in Northwest Ohio. Go to terryhendricksford.com.
The Bryan Parks and Recreation Department would like to wish the Bryan Golden Bears good luck in tonight's game. The Bryan Parks and Rec offers a wide variety of classes for you during the entire year and an array of sporting events all year long. Check out what the Bryan Parks and Recreations Department has going on at bryanparksandrec.com or like them on Facebook. The Bryan Parks and Rec hopes to see you in one of the many parks that Bryan has to offer and enjoy the facilities. Questions about the classes or rental of one of their facilities, call 633-6030.
Hi, this is Andy Brigle from the Rock and Roll Morning Show, and Season 2 of my podcast, 15 Minutes with Andy, has a return date. Season 2, the first episode of the new season, will drop on Wednesday, April 27th. We have so many terrific stories to tell in Season 2, and we are so excited to bring them to you. If you want to check out what 15 Minutes with Andy, the podcast, is all about, go to our YouTube page titled 15 Minutes with Andy, and all of our Season 1 interviews are up there. Season 2 drops on Wednesday, April 27th. Stories of hope, stories of triumph, stories of positivity. And that's the most important thing, I think, in all of this, stories of positivity. Season 2 of 15 Minutes with Andy, coming your way starting Wednesday, April 27th.
It's Thirsty Thursday at all the main stops in Northwest Ohio. What does that mean? It means that every Thursday, all day long, you will get any size fountain drink or any size coffee for only 79 cents. All day long, every Thursday, any size fountain drink, any size coffee or cappuccino. Stop in to your main stop and see everything they have to offer every day. Main stops, always there when you need us.
Luxury homes are hard to find in Northwest Ohio, but Misty King of Amerimaid Realty has one. Located in the Quarry Estates, this 5-bedroom, 4.5-bath home offers over 5,500 square feet, including the full-finished walkout basement, over 5 tree-lined acres, and a 30-by-40 detached garage with heated workshop and attic storage. A few of the amenities here include Brazilian cherry floors, granite countertops, 2 laundry rooms, a safe room, a walk-in attic, and more. Phone Misty today at 633-4997 or go to AmeramaidHomes.com. Misty King of Amerimaid Realty, your hometown real estate pro. Back out here for segment number 2 of Sports Weekly, driven by Terry Hendricks Ford. A reminder, next week, our final show of the school year. We will be joined by Defiance head coach Tom Held, and North Central head baseball coach Eric Smeltzer will be making his first appearance on the show coming up next Wednesday night as well. And then, of course, we're off until August of this coming school year. Corey Walker, head coach of the Bryan Golden Bears, joining us. Corey, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on.
So first year as a head coach. You were 5 years as an assistant. Is that right?
Yep, 5 years.
Okay.
5 years within the program so far.
For those that don't know anything about your background, maybe introduce yourself to our listeners a little bit.
Sure. I'm a graduate from Archibald, so I'm from the area. I've been within the program at Bryan now for 6 years. Spent 3 years as the JV head coach and technically 2 years as varsity assistant. Granted, in 2020, we obviously didn't play. Was hired back in June as the new head coach for the program.
And not just coach baseball. Did you coach some other things at Bryan?
Sure. I also spent 4 years coaching junior high basketball, both 2 years 7th grade level, 2 years at the 8th grade level, which for maybe some of our seniors, that's a good or a bad thing, because now 2 of them I've been coaching for 6 straight years.
And take it a step further, your twin brother also, Colin, in the system as well.
Yep, he's been there a year longer than me. He's been doing football and girls basketball for 6-7 years now. So that's a little interesting for not only from a coaching perspective, but also from a teaching perspective, because we both teach the same subject, same grade level. Takes the kids about a quarter into the year to like figure out there's 2 of us sometimes,
Yeah.
especially for those freshmen.
Absolutely. So, Corey, you said you got the job in June. What was the first thing you did or wanted to do as the new head coach at Bryan?
So the nice thing was relationships with the kids was already built. Plus, foundation for the program was already been established. I mean, Jeff spent a decade there establishing a culture that drove the kids to win. So really the first thing for me was making sure that the kids knew the direction of the program from me myself. So sitting down and meeting with them, having them understand where our expectations are, that our expectations for where we want to compete, what we want to win don't change just because they are, or just because there's a change in leadership at the top.
So how would you describe similarities, I guess, and differences to you as a coach, from an assistant coach to a head coach? And I guess maybe a better way of asking it is, how would you describe yourself as a head coach, your personality traits, what you want out of a baseball team?
We've always talked about it. When we talk about baseball team, we want, first and foremost, a team that the biggest compliment we can get is a team that plays extremely hard. All right, we can walk out of there, and if another coach tells us that maybe we even lost by a couple runs, but that our team plays harder than anybody they see, that's a huge compliment for us. The other thing we hammer is to dominate the fundamentals. If we look at our roster right now, we're not the biggest, strongest team in the world. So we have to do the fundamental things very, very, very well in order to succeed.
You know, and you're now the head of, if you ask people, I would say certainly in Bryan, and I would even venture to say outside Northwest Ohio, if you're picking one Bryan program that has been the most consistent and most successful over 40 plus years, sure, it'd be baseball.
Sure, and we make sure the kids know that. I mean, we have a ton of multi-sport athletes, which is great, and we love that. I mean, we got 3-sport guys, we got football, basketball, baseball guys, which a lot of schools don't have anymore. But we hammer with them all the time. This is, even if we haven't had the success maybe in the last year or two, for this town, it is probably one of the more important programs within the community. There are a lot of people that care about the results of this program.
And you probably knew that on the outside, sure, looking in. Have you seen it even grow more since you become that? I know it's only a short period of time, but do you get a sense of even that more so now as the head man in charge?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got to see it playing against it growing up. Not with a lot of success playing against that program. But sure, you get people who maybe I don't know but on a first name basis that talk about the expectations in town. You get people within the school district that talk about what they think the program should do. And those are all good things because that holds expectations, that holds accountability for the kids within the program too.
Tough year last year, very not a Bryan-like season. I guess, 12-16. The silver lining is you started so slowly at 1-6 on the year, played better as the year went on, but they were maybe things that you, not just Bryan, but I think in general, maybe we take for granted in throwing strikes and making routine plays. I mean, those were things that played into a 12-16 season.
Right. We to start the year, our schedule is difficult, but that only makes us better as we go. And we really struggled to throw strikes, and we really struggled to field the baseball. And not to make excuses, but losing that 2020 season really, for our senior class last year, was difficult because we were bringing in 5 seniors who had never played a varsity inning before. And when we started, we said our pitching and defense would be what we kind of hang our hat on. And to start the year, we really struggled there. Now, as the season went on, we made improvements, and we ended the season in a much better place. But yeah, those little things, making routine plays, throwing strikes, not hitting batters in an 0-2 count, which we were probably led the state in last year, were things that we really struggled with.
So 1-2 start to this year. Obviously, like everybody else, you've had a few games that have been either canceled or postponed. And you still have enough of a schedule where you can get some of those games back in. What do you like about this group? When this group plays well now and what they're capable of, what do they do well, Corey?
Well, first off, we like our attitude and our effort. We haven't had to question that for any of our guys yet, which is great. For us to succeed, it's back to what we talked about before. If we can make plays, if we can throw strikes, we give ourselves a shot. Our first game, we did a really good job of that. We threw a ton of strikes. We were really efficient. We fielded every ball that was hit on a cold, windy day. And when we did that, we didn't give up any runs. So from an offensive side, we're definitely different than last year. We lost the middle of our order in Brevin Dekrosh, who is playing at Owens right now, and Keith Heward. Those are kind of our big bats in the middle. We really don't have those this year. So we're a little bit different, maybe a little small ball. We're a lot more athletic and a lot faster than last year. So we're going to have to be able to put the bunt down. We're going to have to run the bases really well in order to manufacture runs in a different way than we have in the past.
And that comes back to not just making plays, throwing strikes. Again, those are fundamentals. Fundamentals here, too. Can you get that bunt down? Can you hit behind a runner to get somebody from second to third with 1 out or less in an inning? You know, those little things that maybe we take for granted.
Right, and offensively, if we're going to score runs, we're going to have to do that. And that's what we've told the guys so far. We have to be able to put the ball in play. We've been doing a good job of getting guys into scoring position this first couple games. We have not been doing a good job of putting the ball in play once we get there. And if we can improve on that, and we do, we have a lot of younger guys in the lineup who are learning the speed of the varsity game. But if we can get those guys to do that, put the ball in play, make the other team put pressure on them to make plays, use our speed to our advantage, I think we'll be able to manufacture runs a little bit better.
Pitching, talk a little bit about that and where you're at now and where you maybe see that going as the year goes on.
Sure. For us, we just try to develop everybody that we can into a pitcher. Right now, we're still, with only 3 games in, we're still figuring out some of the back end of our pitching. We feel like we've really got a good set at about 3 starters right now and about 2 or 3 guys in relief. We have a set of brothers, Dylan and Carter Dominic, that both are going to throw a lot of innings for us. Dylan is coming off some injuries. He's thrown 2 games for us. The first game, he was phenomenal. First game, he's thrown more than probably 3 innings in 3 years. And he was very efficient. He threw 3 pitches for a strike. Carter's a freshman who's got a ton of potential. If he works at it, he's got a chance to be really, really good. But he's still a freshman who's got to learn out the varsity game. And then we got a couple seniors as well, and Mikey Wolf, Quinn Brown, Ethan Cerny, who are all going to throw for us quite a bit. And then there's a few other younger guys that really good athletes. We're seeing if we can see if they can use that athleticism to become decent pitchers, especially in relief for us.
And you mentioned Carter, Dominic. Is it just him learning the art of pitching? Is that what it is? And harnessing things? Is that what it is for Carter now as a freshman?
It's learning the fine points of pitching, really. He's got a phenomenal arm. He's last summer he was up over 80 for us as a 14-year-old going into his freshman year. But he needs to learn where he needs to locate pitches. Just because you throw hard doesn't mean you're going to get guys out at this varsity level, especially with the schedule that we play, both league and non-league. And I think that's just going to come with time and with reps that he has, and he understands that as well.
Where's the biggest? You mentioned some of that youth, and you do have a lot, pretty heavy in the sophomore class, right. I know. Where is that? Where's the learning curve steeper at the varsity level, defensively, offensively? Where do you feel like it's a tougher learning curve?
To me, I think a little bit offensively. Defensive, as many reps as you can get in is the better. I think that you catch up to that a little bit quicker. I think the plate's the biggest jump. So because we got some sophomores in here, when you're seeing a 70 to 72 mile an hour fastball, and next year we're asking at 85 to 87, which we've seen this year, that is a big jump, especially when JV level, you might see a curveball, but it's going to be a get me over curveball. I hope I throw it in the zone. It's not going to be 75, I'm going to throw it at your back foot and make you try to hit it.
I call it the old high school curveball that you can see come out of the hands. And
And we've seen that in some of our scrimmages. We played Anthony Wayne. We saw a kid going to Toledo for them first thing. He was upper 80s with a mid 70s curveball, slider, and catching up and learning that speed takes some time.
Numbers in the program. Are you happy with where you're at in the high school program?
We are. We got 30 guys out right now. We have a big junior class, a pretty solid sophomore class, and a lot of them are seeing varsity time right now. And then we have, I believe, about 12 freshmen out as well, which is a significant number for us.
And and going back to the tradition of Bryan baseball, it's always been a really good feeder program too through the youth coming up.
Sure, and the guys that run our youth program right now, Ryan Miller is the president of our association. They're doing some phenomenal jobs with those kids. Just teaching them, and it's nice because Ryan used to be, he was assistant for years. So he knows what the expectations are, one, but he also knows what the fundamentals that are taught there. So having him and other former coaches and players involved in it allows for that youth to learn what is expected of them before they get to us.
Corey, what does the NWOAL look like on paper coming into the year, in your opinion?
It's going to be tough. Archibald and Evergreen bring back both. Obviously, Archibald state runners up last year. They bring back all but 2 guys. So they bring back the majority of the team. They bring back the player of the year in Newman, D1 arm that we'll see. Evergreen brings back everybody but 1 guy. They also have a D1 arm and RJ Shunk, who's going to Toledo. So those 2 will probably be the top 2. We hope we're right there competing with them. Waseon was very good last year. They have a lot of seniors to replace, but they always have athletes, and they're coached really well. Liberty and PH were both young last year. Liberty's got a chance to be pretty good.
And you look at what you guys do, you've already talked about your schedule just a little bit, but Bryan has always done a really good job on the baseball field, I thought, of grabbing the best of the best at D2 and D1 schools even. You want to bring all comers in, and if you lose that game on a Saturday afternoon or whatever, okay, nobody wants to lose, but it makes you better come May.
Right, and that's the point of our scheduling. Our district it's going to be tough. We got 10 teams in that district, and 8 or 9 of them got a chance to be really good. So, we schedule those games for that reason. We need to see that pitching. We need to see that speed of that game in order to prepare us for that. Just like Monday, a lot of rainouts. We had Perrysburg scheduled. They said, hey, we got a new turf field. Would you want to come up here and play instead? We said, yeah, we'll ride an hour on the bus and go play them because we didn't want to lose that game against that type of competition. Even though they beat us, and they beat us pretty good, seeing that type of competition is only going to make us better as we go throughout the year.
What's the rest of this week look like for you guys if you're able to go?
Well, weather permitting, BG comes in tomorrow, picks second in the NLL, regional D1 team from last year, so great competition. Mount Pilier's coming over on Friday, and if everything holds, we go to Maumee for a district game Saturday morning.
Okay. Look forward to seeing you down the road. Hopefully that Evergreen game, that'll be a good one to see both you guys play later in April. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Corey Walker, head coach of the Bryan Golden Bears, our second guest tonight. We'll talk Tenora baseball when we come back. I want to talk to you for the next 30 seconds about the place to go for your next vehicle. Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald. Whether it's a new vehicle for purchase, a lease vehicle, or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle, Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald is the place to turn. They also have this fantastic service department as well. Service after the sale. Terry Hendricks Ford, serving all of your vehicle needs in Northwest Ohio. Go to terryhendricksford.com.
The Bryan Parks and Recreation Department would like to wish the Bryan Golden Bears good luck in tonight's game. The Bryan Parks and Rec offers a wide variety of classes for you during the entire year and an array of sporting events all year long. Check out what the Bryan Parks and Recreations Department has going on at bryanparksandrec.com or like them on Facebook. The Bryan Parks and Rec hopes to see you in one of the many parks that Bryan has to offer and enjoy the facilities. Questions about the classes or rental of one of their facilities, call 633-6030.
It's Thirsty Thursday at all the main stops in Northwest Northwest Ohio. What does that mean? It means that every Thursday, all day long, you will get any size fountain drink or any size coffee for only 79 cents. All day long, every Thursday, any size fountain drink, any size coffee or cappuccino. Stop in to your Main Stop and see everything they have to offer every day. Main Stop's, always there when you need us.
Luxury homes are hard to find in Northwest Ohio, but Misty King of AmeriMade Realty has one. Located in the Quarry Estates, this 5-bedroom, 4.5-bath home offers over 5,500 square feet, including the full-finished walkout basement, over 5 tree-lined acres, and a 30-by-40 detached garage with heated workshop and attic storage. A few of the amenities here include Brazilian cherry floors, granite countertops, 2 laundry rooms, a safe room, a walk-in attic, and more. Phone Misty today at 633-4997 or go to AmeriMadeHomes.com. Misty King of AmeriMade Realty, your hometown real estate pro.
The Menards Garden Center is open. Save 11% at your one-stop destination for all your outdoor projects. Want flowers for your deck, patio, or yard? We've got hundreds of colorful options to choose from. Growing a larger garden? We've got the soils, seeds, and tools you need. Landscaping? Check out our wide selection of edgers, pavers, and patio block. The Menards Garden Center. Let's grow. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Welcome back out here to Sports Weekly, powered by Terry Hendricks Ford. Our next to last show of the week or of the season. Our final guest tonight, Tenora head coach Brent Renolette with us. Hi, Brent.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Glad to have you here. As I was making some notes up to talk to you, I'm like, this can't be true, but you'll verify. Is this your 22nd season? Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
That sounds close enough, right?
Yep.
Last year, congratulations. You got number 400 as head coach or overall as your head coach, but you're being at Sonora, and another 20-win season, another GMC title. I know it didn't end the way you had hoped, losing to Fairview in the sectionals, but another overall, I guess, big picture, a pretty successful year last year.
Yeah, it was, and it left a bitter taste in their mouth with the sectional loss. But, I thought it was a good year. 23 wins. If we'd said that to start the season, we'd have taken it.
Corey mentioned a good point when he was just on talking about that lost 2020 season. As a baseball coach, where did you see it most as you came back in 2021? Where you were playing catch-up from?
The younger kids didn't get the extra year practice time, I thought. We got some games in that summer, but we did not get any practice time, and I thought we were young at that time. We had no seniors that year, which was unbelievable that you don't have any seniors. But our younger kids did not get 2 or 3 weeks of practice inside, and then we started outside, and I think that hurt a little bit, and I think it hurt the culture a little bit because we have a way of doing things at Tenora, and these kids didn't get that from the older kids.
So what's this? I know, like everybody else, you've had starts and stops here, like spring in Northwest Ohio, but what's the spring been like so far with this group that you have?
So far, so successfully. We have a lot of kids. We have 31 kids out, and we have 15 kids on the varsity and 16 kids that separate or play freshman and JV. It's been successful with 2 wins, but not so much fun with the rain and the cold, and we practice now 3 days straight, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the kids are not enjoying that when we got to go back inside and hit.
Yeah, and it's just different. I mean, you just go back and you're coming out and going back inside. It's just there's no consistency,
Correct.
I guess. So this group, I mean, you lost 7 from last year, returned still some, though, back from last year's team to this year's team. What do you like about this group, BR?
We're very athletic. We're very fast. This is one of the fastest groups I've ever had. We can run, so we're really focusing on hitting runs and stealing bases, and defense. We lost our number 1 pitcher that pitched a lot of innings, Andrew Inthern, and Andrew did a great job. Wasn't overpowering, but he pitched a lot of innings for us. So we have to make that up with a group of kids.
And I want to go back to when you mentioned speed, because the first thing that comes to mind, you're thinking just stealing bases. But baseball speed, a lot of different things you can do than just steal bases when you're fast.
Correct. Yeah, We really work on the bunt game a lot this year, a lot more than we ever have, and we've really worked on hit and runs a lot more than we ever have. And hit and run's kind of a lost art, and we're trying to bring that back for us this year. So hopefully that is a big thing for us this year.
You mentioned losing your number one. Do you feel like you have some good arms to replace that? I mean, maybe raw, but still some capability, some potential?
We have some good arms. We have Kason Wolfram will be our number one, I think. Right now, he's a senior. He's pitched some big games for us. But we also have a couple other seniors that pitched. Tristan Burks beat Defiance last year, beat Elida last year. He's a senior. He can pitch. And then Cole Camaso, he's 83, 84. So, I mean, we got some kids that have potential. But Andrew pitched every big game for us the last 2 years. So these kids have never been on the big stage.
And until you get on the big stage, I mean, there's no substitute for that. You can't really coach that.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's talk about, and every coach has areas of improvements. Even if you're undefeated and it's going into tournament, you have something to improve on. But where does this group need to grow, do you think, the most? Take away pitching, I guess, but other than that.
Yeah, pitching's the biggest thing. But defensively, we have a sophomore shortstop. And we have some outfielders. We have a sophomore center fielder and a freshman left fielder. So defensively, those kids have to grow and get better at it. And we have a lot of seniors that played a lot of baseball, but quite a few of them played JV last year. So they have the speed of the varsity game.
Boy, and that it's not just facing faster pitching from JV to varsity, isn't it? I mean, there is a speed to the game even in baseball, right?
Yeah, there is. In every sport there is. And our JV kids have to realize that every play they have to be doing something. They just can't stand.
GMC this year, boy, it looks really deep. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Everybody has a kid that throws 85. Every kid except Tenora.
Is this as good, whether it's like, let's say the last couple of years that you've played baseball or whatever, is this as deep as the GMC's been in your years at Tenora? I mean, you always have good teams, but maybe not the depth.
Yeah, I'd say it's very good with everybody's number one.
Okay.
The rest of them, I'm not sure because I don't know who everybody's number 2 and number 3 is. But everybody's number 1 is really good, so you have to beat their best. But who knows? Every year's a different year, and we don't have really a number 1. So, we got to learn to hit. If we can hit an 85-mile-an-hour fastball, then we have a chance.
Your Division III district has always been very high quality. Yeah. I expect the same again this year. Is that what it looks like? Yeah.
You go in our district, just name a few. Otsego got a kid going to Michigan State, pitcher, left-hander. Evergreen has a left-hander, can throw. Archibald has Newman. You just go down the line. Everybody has one kid that's really good, and you got to be able to score a few runs, and you have to have great defense. Our kids, our pitchers, we had trouble with our younger kids throwing strikes last year, but so far this year they've done a great job. So if we can throw strikes and we can scratch out a few runs with our speed, we can beat somebody.
And you guys do a great job, I think, of scheduling up to as well at Division III. And it doesn't even have to be a higher division. I mean, I know you play Lincoln View, and they were state runner-up a year ago in D4, but getting those quality teams on your schedule, I think you guys have always done a great job of that.
Yeah, we do a very good job with that. We've played Upper Arlington, we play Start, we play Defiance, we played, Bryan, Napoleon, Wauseon. I mean, we play good competition, and hopefully gets us ready for it.
Just sitting here thinking, that run of all the consecutive years of making it down to the Final Four and championship games and championship, what was that like being in that seat? What was that like being in that community of Tenora that loves all their sports?
Yeah.
What was that like?
So much fun, and the thing that was really fun about it is I had great kids that loved baseball, and great families that loved baseball, and I can remember Kelly McKinney, her boys played for me, and she told me when they were 7th graders, she goes, "Coach, this team's going to take you to state, these kids," and she was right. So those kids wanted to play baseball at Tenora, and that's the key. That's the key. If you have baseball kids, that's the key.
You've been around the game your entire life. At the high school level, 2 decades ago to now, where is the game better, do you think? And where is the game maybe tailed off a little bit, or not as good as it used to be?
Well, I think the training and making kids throw harder is better. I think people have figured that out, that you have to throw, and that's better. But I think the fundamentals, and I think same way in basketball, the fundamentals are not as good. My kids, my 2 kids make fun of old basketball when they're watching, says, Dad, you played in that era? I said, yeah, we had fundamentals. We didn't dunk every time, and but I think that's the key. I think people are throwing harder, but I think the fundamentals are lacking.
Is it as simple as an answer as this? I get asked this now. When you start doing things a long time, you always get asked, well, why do you keep doing it? Till it's not fun anymore. I'm going to keep doing this job till it's not fun. Is that the same way as a baseball coach, until you dread going to practice or games?
Yeah, I would say. And I would say when I want to be there more than the kids. I left one of my jobs that I was coaching at one point where I thought I wanted to be there more than the kids. And I said, if that's the case again, then I won't want to be there.
Yeah, you want to have fun while you're doing what you're doing.
Right. I have a great coaching staff that we have fun, and that's part of it.
And it's a staff that's been with you forever.
Yeah, my JV coach has been there 22 years with me. My first assistant's 15, and now I got 2 former players that are coaching with me. So yeah, it's a great staff, and
that makes it fun too, isn't it? When former players get involved again.
Yeah, it does, and I'm very grateful for the staff, and more importantly, I'm grateful for the kids that I've had and the parents that of those kids that have been wonderful.
What's this week look like for you moving forward if you can play every day?
We got Wayne Trace tomorrow in the first league game, and then we have we're in the Elida Ed Sandy tournament on Saturday.
Okay.
At Elida we play Delphi St. John's, and then Elida and LCC play, and we play the winner of the loser.
So it's a 4-team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice little tournament. Again, weather permitting.
Yeah, and I saw you got a couple. You start on the schedule: Anthony Wayne, St. Henry, and then Wasion and Bryan. I mean, you play those a lot of those every year, but you don't always play your Anthony Wayne or Starts or St. Henry's.
No, we've been playing Anthony Wayne here the last few years, which is a great game for us. Start, we played 1 year, and we got them back on the schedule. We played different teams. Like this year's the first year we've ever played Ottoville. Which I don't know how we got them, but it's great. St. Henry, we played in the PBR showcase, and they kind of wanted to play us because we beat them. Actually, the head coach in 2009, we beat him in regionals, or 2011, we beat him in regionals, and he wants to play us, so which is nice. Yeah. So,
and the MAC does a few things well down there too.
Yes, they win a little bit.
Yeah, they do. They are somewhat successful.
Yeah.
Hey, BR, thanks for coming over here and being with us tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you down the road, perhaps, and best of luck with Tenora baseball this season.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks all you do for high school sports. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Brent Ranelette, head coach of the Tenora Rams. Toby Hutchison, Corey Walker, our other guests tonight. Next week, it's Eric Smeltzer from North Central and Defiance head coach Tom Held on our final show of the 21-22 school year. Sports Weekly, driven each week by Terry Henricks Ford, JJ Wins here in Holiday City, Amerimaid Realty, the main stops of Northwest Ohio, and the Bryan Parks and Rec Department.